fell out with it. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch a line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again. Promise to pick up all the charities and all of the givers. Some of like say they're powerful, they don't make a bigger. The hundred the promises, none of them not deliver. Come talk to you, they're rough and they're in our river. Them a bull money and they lie them. Corruption smell and they pocket them smell. When police don't have market like Satan, not a hell go mash up people start and thief when them sell it on me. On the tree market man, on them a tree they cat man, on the tree they peanut man, on them a tree they dirt man, on them a tree they son man, on them a tree policeman, on them a tree soldier man.
Boom! I mean, I say a couple to the flex they represent for Wayne Global TV. So I say, you know the code in the Wayne Global TV is what fully blessed on 90 days. So I say, yeah man, to the fullest. Yeah man, make sure them log in to Wayne Global TV. So I say, check it out. So I say, one cup of flex. So I say, Wayne Global. When you watch you know, see them a plan up and a try to put them on pan we head. But man a live too long, them want Wayne Global fitted. To him juggle so smooth that them want him life for dread. I throw the bank a light the break, but we ain't all about the bread. We open up in the ears and no listen when we said, cause we lyrics them so smooth like the linen on the bed. Them one with a fall, we live in pan the edge, I must say true, make this them. We ain't Global TV, we are 90. And 90. Who Jaja bless, say no man can curse.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
What we gonna eat no money, what we at you, eat no at you. Covid money, miss away in the year, look at you. Use the youth, the money, waste for most of man to start you. Say me like a catch you, but they got enough, they got you. Take this skin from money, God, and say that is not you. One day, the man above end up in my gut up. Too much eating at the kitchen, some fly by like a patu. My singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me.
300%
It burn me.
Garbage pile of the day.
It burn me.
Give the teacher them race.
It burn me.
I see corruption face.
It burn me.
Mash down the people them house.
It burn me.
Every day appear arms out.
It burn me.
Appear money them a thief.
This is Global TV election campaign coverage. This is Global TV election campaign coverage. This is Global TV election campaign coverage.
Good night, and welcome once again. Thank you very much for joining us on another night of 2024 Jamaica Decide. And while I wait for my guests, we'll get straight into a few things. Odd remarks. I must call us and the others we're talking to. But while Audrey Marks is asking the US to rescind that travel advisory, and is also asking Jamaicans in the diaspora to ask the US to rescind those, I will play Audrey a few clips from our National Health Service, as the health service was heavily targeted in the advisory.
See that? Place one fix, drop down for the elderly man and bed. APH. See that? Need repair. Condition is really terrible, see there? Nearly kill the whole elderly man in the bed, see there? Water system, roof, don't look good. Need adjustment. Government of Jamaica need to step in and do something where this is concerned. See there? Need to be arranged. Need to be adjusted. Condition is terrible done by the KPH.
That one was the waiting room at the Lionel Town Hospital, Nesta Morgan.
Tough time, see there, we need bathroom. See there, if your mother them don't have no for bed. Yeah, right through. See there? We don't have nothing. Nothing we don't have up here, look here. And this on the left foot inner. This on the left we inner. Yeah man, we need little sort out. Something needs to be done, and it got to be done quickly. Yeah.
No. While Miss Audrey Marks, Nesta Morgan, Alanda Terrellon, and Kamina Johnson running around, looking to quiet everybody and this whole diaspora issue and the U.S. advisory. Maybe you should all run around busy, trying to do your job, and then things like these won't surface. But I want to go back to Mr. Pull the Gun. I can't play the video over here, but I've posted on all my other social media pages, Facebook, TikTok, and what the other one, X. There was a gentleman who, even Carlos was confused about this. I have not missed my good evenings. I'm going to come back to that. But I want to get these two bits out of the way first. In that video, yes, there was a man in a black t-shirt and like a melon red tam or whatever he has on his head, but it was like a melon red type that ran from around where the young lady was sitting in the car around to where the altercation was taking place. But by that gentleman got there and kicked after, I don't know if the kick connected, but by that time the gentleman in the black t-shirt ran around and kicked after the counselor. The counselor had pulled back and pulled his weapon. When that young man made the one kick, he ran back. The counselor pulled out his weapon. The gentleman in the red t-shirt went into a surrender position. The gentleman who was with the counselor apparently went on a savage hyena attack. At no point, you see where the counselor Dean Jones, came back into the video. And assist, tried to stop his hyenas from viciously attacking the gentleman. Only that woman, the passerby in the white top and gray, I think, bottoms, stopped to render her assistance. But one, this counselor must be charged. Two, he must also be pulled from the race. Because if any workplace that you're going to for an interview, see such an altercation with you on social media, then you're not going to pass for the interview. Let me say quickly good evening to everyone in the chat and on the live. As usual, good evening to Patricia Matthews. Good evening to Veteran Big Up. Good evening to David Jervis, Natalia Freeman. Good evening and welcome. Good evening, Sunshine. Good evening and welcome, Monica Willis. Good evening and welcome, Beat and Teach. Good evening and welcome, Lilith Foster. Good evening and welcome, Patricia Matthews. Rose D. Good evening and welcome. Good evening to Joan Brown. Good evening and welcome, Lilith Foster. Who else is here? Good evening and welcome to everyone. Brittany Lyon, thank you for joining us. Good evening and welcome, Douglas Allen. Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Good evening and welcome, Michelle Lewis, Wilson Godgift. Good evening and welcome, VM. Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Good evening and welcome, Jamaican Carlos. Big up my brother. I don't know why Everton Jarrett always come here to be abusive. It would better rather not to be here. Good evening and welcome, Sharon Powell. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. Good evening. I have one of my guests in studio, and while nomination is pulling ever so closer, and the candidates are very busy having all their meetings and getting everything set on the ground, I hope my guests can hear me. I want to bring to you, can you hear me, guests? Hello? Mr. Lewis, if you can hear me, can you turn your camera on so I know you're hearing me? I'll just continue talking until my guest is properly connected. Once my guest is properly connected, Samora Tarrell, good evening and welcome. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. As soon as my guest is connected, then I will. The same similar problem. Mystic Vibes, good evening and welcome. The same similar problem that was happening the other night when Wayne Mckenzie came, the same problem is happening now, but I'm hoping my guests will get connected so we can have that interview and hear what his plan for the West Portland constituency. But thanks for those who are here. Is Mr. Jones, is Mr. Dean Jones playing 1980 politics? Is Mr. Dean Jones playing 1980s politics? Lilith Lockerbie, good evening and welcome. And will Mr. Jones be sanctioned for the behavior we saw in public? Sorry, East Portland rather. Okay. Okay, thank you. Hold on, let me try. My guest device is not connecting at all. But Mr. Jones ought to be sanctioned for his behavior. I want to look back at a message. I watched it real good a minute ago. Council need jail time. I do agree with that, that council needs jail time, call us, but I do have to also acknowledge the other gentleman in the video that was made mention of, the gentleman in the black t-shirt. If you look good at the very start of the video, about the first 5 to 8 seconds, that's where it would have taken place. But yes, that young man run around. I don't know if the kick connected, but he made a kick, then he ran back, and Jones pulled out his gun. The man in the red t-shirt went in a surrender mood, and Jones' hyenas went on the attack. Not for 1 minute did you see Jones back into the camera trying to control his men. It was only the woman you hear in the background shouting out, "No, no, no," or whatever was being shouted out. I think the man in the black was helping the man in the red. That's what it seems, Brittany. The kick connected, beat and teach says. The kick connected. But at no point, after the man went in a surrender mode, Mr. Jones stood there while 2 of his men went on a brutal attack. Mr. Lewis, can you hear me?
I am hearing you very clearly.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening and welcome to Global TV. This is Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis is one of the council candidates for the Buff Bay division. Mr. Lewis, good evening and welcome to Global TV. Tell my audience who Mr. Lewis is.
Good evening to you and good evening to your audience, and thank you for having me. The name is Desmond Lewis. I was born and raised in the town of Buff Bay. I attended the Buff Bay Primary, Windsor Castle College, on to St. Andrew Technical High School, on to the University of Technology. I am a construction manager by profession, and I happen to manage one of the largest Jamaican-owned construction company in the Caribbean for the past 18 years.
So you're someone with quite a bit of skill and experience.
Definitely.
Are you new to politics, or can you be described as a seasoned politician?
I am definitely a political neophyte.
Right. So explain your political history to us.
I get involved in the political process because of the people of Buff Bay. They have been lacking proper political representation for a very long time at the local level. And that is where I stepped in and decided to ensure I get the town of Buff Bay and its environment, give them proper political representation, so the things that are required for the youths, the development of the towns, and the communities within Buff Bay the town can be developed properly.
What are the most lacking, you would say, in Buff Bay at the moment? What are the most things that are lacking, the things that are really depressing for the community, the things that is on everybody's tongue? What is that major thing in Buff Bay that is on everybody's tongue?
It is not just Buff Bay in itself. Buff Bay is just the center of the division. The division consists of 12 other communities within the division. So Buff Bay is just a centerpiece. It's the main town within the division. But let me speak about the entire division. One of the major issues that we have been having is serious water problem. Let me just make something very clear to you. From the east to the west, it's 7 miles from the foot of Black Hill, that is in Lennox, to the border of St. Mary, that is Windsor Castle, it is 7 miles. Within that 7 miles, you have 3 rivers and 4 springs. And yet still, the town of Buff Bay and its environment doesn't have adequate water supply. So water is a necessity, and it's a major problem that the town is having.
Would you do agree, though, that this is a failure of successive governments?
It is, but there are things that can be done, should be done. What we don't want to be doing is to continue to highlight the failures of others. We have a responsibility when we are in power to ensure that the things that we promise to our constituents are actually delivered. And water is a basic necessity that is required for people, generally.
What is Mr. Lewis' plan to remedy that depressing water situation?
The water situation can be remedied in 2 ways. Let us take Buff Bay, for example. You have a Meredith Spring in Spring Garden. We want to ensure that we put a serious facility because, if you look at other countries without water, those countries use the desalination plant, but we have an abundance of that commodity, which is fresh water. We want to be able to put a plant in Spring Garden to supply the town of Buff Bay and its environment. And that plant will also supply, we will pump to the heights in Windsor Castle and distribute gravity feed to the entire surrounding, and pump to the heights of Orange Bay and pump and gravity feed to all the districts within that environment. So there's a simple solution to the problem. It takes some doing. There was a study done by JSIF, and we are going to ensure that that study, based on what we unearthed, we ensure that we try and get that implemented.
What are the road conditions like across your division?
The road conditions is very much atrocious. Let us speak, for example. We have a road to one of the major let me make this clear, Wayne. In a town they call Belvedere, a bridge was damaged for 2 years. We have constantly received communications about the replacement of that bridge. The people demonstrated, and even the demonstration didn't lead to the construction of a bridge. That's a bridge in Craigmiln. That bridge has been out for 1 year and 10 months. The people are using a fording through the river. Whenever the river is spade, no one can access the community of Craigmiln and Belvedere. If there are emergencies, just think about your grandmother being sick or a fire being there in the community. No one can access where they're in because just one entrance point. That community is also a major, when I say a major, farming community. Now, there's about 150 acres of cocoa that is in that area. The only area in Jamaica that doesn't have the cocoa that have any form of disease. You have over 300 acres of pimentos, and those farmers cannot get access to get the product out if the river is in speed. So you have to understand those are serious concerns. When you go to Windsor Castle, the road leading to Vinery, I drive a 4-wheel drive. I use a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and I have problems traversing that roadway at this time. Orange Bay, the road from Orange Bay to Settlement is a disaster. The people are having problem accessing. And you know the problem, Wayne? The population continues to rise in places like Settlement in Orange Bay, but the population in places like Craigmiln and Belvedere start to decrease because of access issue, and people are migrating. So there's a significant amount of problems that we are having within the division where the roads are concerned, and those are things that we intend on addressing.
Tell us what the economic prospect and employability is like across your division?
I want to go a little bit deeper, Wayne. You know,
You want to go across the east?
no, not across the east, but the division of Buff Bay. My responsibility is to the people of the Buff Bay division. So that's where I speak, and that's what I'm going to speak about. Now, we have been having challenges for youths. Employment opportunities are dim. Opportunities generally are grim. We have some solutions, major solution, and I don't want to highlight too much at this particular point in time. We have a driver with 4 key elements that we want to drive. It is called PEED, P-E-E-D, P, which is for planning, E, which is for education, E for employment and empowerment, and D is for development. That's a driver based on the manifesto that we have that we'll be using to develop the communities within the Buff Bay division.
In relation to farming and water irrigation, there's a system which is widely used in Africa called the borehole system. Will the representatives of East Portland or Portland, a farming parish, farming community, look at that type of system of irrigation to at least supply the farming communities?
We're not in East Portland, we're in West Portland.
West, yes.
To be correct, we're in West Portland. Now, the Buff Bay division, a very dynamic division. Most of the Buff Bay division is urban, but some of it is rural. So it's a mix. So when you're planning, what we have done, we would have had town hall meetings within the communities of the Buff Bay division, and we are changing how political representation is done. Instead of us going in and tell the people what we are going to do, we have discussions with the people within the communities and let they tell us what they want. What we'd have done is to create a master plan and a database with the information and ensure we prioritize according to their needs. Because as you know, the monies that are given to the councils are limited, and we have to have proper planning in place to ensure that once those monies are dispensed, it can be used and utilized for the need of the people of the Buff Bay division.
What about education and training?
Education and training is very significant. And let me tell you why education is significant. We constantly continue speaking about educational opportunities for the youths from the lower stage, from the basic school level. But we have to also remember that there are people that are still within the workforce that are not educated. We have to find creative ways to ensure that they can feel as they're part of society. And I believe that we should implement what I call, which is oral training. A person can understand when you speak, but they might not be able to articulate because they are not academically inclined. Now, we have to ensure that those persons feel like they're part of society and empower them to contribute a bit more. So that is something that we will be concentrating on from the basic level, because you have to remember the gap from basic school right up to tertiary level education is 24 years. What happened to the workforce within that period? There's still that gap to be filled. Those people are still part of our workforce, and we have to find creative ways to ensure that they're included.
I want to go back to farming a bit. I spoke to 2 of your colleagues from East Portland, and they spoke strongly about organized farming. Do you share that sentiment?
Yes, and I tell you why. Organized farming is very important, and I have data can tell you why it is important. Within the Buff Bay communities, there's about 4 supermarkets. They purchase at least $5 million chicken from Bestress and others per week. That is $20 million leaving the community per month. There are things that we have to do in an organized way as a community to ensure that the local people are included and some of those monies stay within the community. So yes, organized farming is something that is very important because of 2 things. One, what you don't want is the supply to be short. Because if the demand is high and you don't have the supply, the farming, you will have problems. So organized farming is critical, and that is something that we look forward to within the Buff Bay division, the areas that are farm-based.
What is the infrastructure like in your division in Buff Bay, and how do you plan to improve the infrastructure of Buff Bay?
Well, there's a lot of things that we can delve deep into, and I will reserve not to get too deep. We have a major problem in the Buff Bay division. We have 2 cemeteries which are full. People cannot bury their dead with dignity, and that is something that we will look to address. Secondly, there's a serious garbage issue that needs to be addressed. That is something that we will look at because it is important to ensure that we have a clean and clear and safe environment. Third, we have an issue with the market. The market has been closed for over 10 years. That is something, again, that needs to be addressed. We have a plan as to how to address it. The situation in the town of Buff Bay when it comes on to traffic control, that is something that we seriously need to look at and address. Again, we have a solution to the problem. So what we have done is to go through the communities, identify the issues, and come up with solutions, some in which we don't want to detail at this particular point in time. They are part of our manifesto, but you know we can't divulge everything.
Tell us about the fire service and any social welfare program for the elderly that you run within your division.
Well, the social welfare program, we have a program with the women's movement that deals with shut-ins. We have contributed significantly to the Golden Age Home at 5th Avenue in Buff Bay, in which we have done repairs to the home itself. Within the past 8 months, we have done significant repairs to that home. So that is something we'll concentrate on. They will never be left behind. We want to ensure all within our environments, we have a solution plan for all the needs of the people within the Buff Bay division.
And let me ask a wider question on Portland. What's the plan for healthcare in Portland amongst all the Portland representatives working together? What's the healthcare plan? What do you plan to, what extra services rather you hope to offer to the community, and do you hope to expand the healthcare service in Portland in general as a People's National Party team, should you all take the local government results home?
We are having caucus discussions. We will have another caucus discussion very shortly, in which we'll look at a broad outline of things that we have to address should we take over the municipal council in Portland. We decide when to sit, discuss as a group, as a unit, and come up with ideas, share what we have to ensure that whenever we get the Portland Municipal Corporation, we can manage effectively. And that's exactly what we're doing at this particular point in time.
How are the river banking drains and gullies or parks within your division is kept?
You know, we are having problems with there's parks. The Lynch Park, for example, has not been kept up for a very long time. The fence is broken down. The swings are no longer there. The slides are no longer there. And the kids need a place to go to socialize. And, you know, that is something that we want to ensure that we solve, because that's one of the problems that we have, where youths within the environment, they're not speaking to each other as they used to. And I think having the park properly maintained and maintained by the community is something that we will be pressing on, because we need to ensure that there's greater integration within the society, because our people need to start speaking to each other more, and it starts from the kids at the lower level.
What is the capacity like for early education in your community? And do you plan to introduce more spaces for early education, or do you plan to invest more in early education?
Yes, there is some capacity where early education is concerned. Windsor Castle has 2 basic schools. Buff Bay itself have about 6 basic schools, and Harthill has 1 basic school. Orange Bay have 1 basic school. So there's quite a bit of capacity there from a basic education standpoint. From a high school standpoint, there's a high school right there in Buffet at Buffet High. So there's a junior high school there in Windsor Castle. So there is enough. But what we need to ensure is that the facilities are maintained, the teachers are properly compensated, so we can get the best from the students.
How is tourist attraction in West Portland? And if there is, how does the West Portland economy tap into the tourist dollar?
We have to go more ecotourism. There are several places, spots in Portland that can attract serious investment where ecotourism is concerned. For example, there's nice, blue, clean, fresh space around by Craig Mill that people travel very far and wide to spend time. That is an area that we can develop where the tourism is concerned. And there are other areas that we want to ensure that more bread and breakfast, more tours in the coffee plantation, the coffee tours, they have the Blue Mountain bicycle tour. There's so much to there to look at where ecotourism is concerned. But we have to ensure that we are not left behind. And those are things that we have to put committees in place to ensure that we push those things to the forefront to drive the economy of the Buff Bay division.
Tell the people of Buff Bay, why should they choose Mr. Lewis as opposed to the JLP candidate?
There's 2 things. Mr. Desmond Lewis is a very honest, hardworking individual that respects and appreciates the people. The only intention and drive of Mr. Desmond Lewis is to ensure that people have proper representation. For far too long, the people of Buff Bay has been sell short. Put it this way, the councillor who is there, the sitting councillor, has been there for almost 8 years. Today, they're putting up street lights, fixing roads, looking at water. On the eve of an election, that's the only thing that they have done for 8 years. And why? Because of an election. They have been absent. We want to ensure that representation is there for the people from day one. Accessibility to the people from day one. We know that we can provide proper representation because we have constructed a permanent office in the town of Buff Bay so that people can have access to their political representative. That is the reason to vote for Desmond Lewis, because Desmond Lewis have a plan for the people of Buff Bay for empowerment, employment, education, and development. That is what we have to offer the people of the Buff Bay Division.
Is there anything else that Mr. Lewis would want to set up to the voters of Portland and to Jamaica by extension?
I want to say to the voters of Buff Bay, the voters of Portland, and the voters of Jamaica, we have an opportunity at this particular time to right the wrong. The wrong has been a party that is in power that doesn't engage the people. The wrong is a party that has been handing out gifts at specific time. This is your time to ensure that those wrongs are rewritten. You, the people, need proper representation. Representation that is engaging and accessible. The People's National Party, and by extension, the Buff Bay Division, is here to serve the people as it states. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, I know this is outside of your parish and constituency, but on the broader political note, do you have a comment on a video that is going around social media where a council candidate for the Yalas division is seen attacking an elderly gentleman, not just him, but his men along with him, with the councillor also pulling his firearm? Do you have an opinion on that issue if you have seen or heard of it?
I would have seen it, but I want to be very careful. But I will say this. There's no place for violence in our society. Absolutely no place. Political violence. Remember, we are part of a community. We are one people. We see each other every day. We speak to each other every day. Don't allow one party or the other to confuse the mind for you to get involved in violence. We don't condone violence. We clearly don't condone violence. It is wrong. It is wrong for whoever the person is to be attacked in the way they're attacked. And I'm saying to all Jamaicans, let us have a peaceful, safe election. It's for you, your community, and for the people within all your environs.
Thank you very much for that response, Mr. Lewis. Is there anything else that you want to say?
I just want to urge Jamaicans to come out and vote. Vote for the People's National Party. It's a party of choice. It's the only party that can restore Jamaica. We want to do it from a community level, and that is the reason why you have to vote for your local councillor candidate, because that is the start. It is the process to get the party back in power so the people can get some respite to the hardship that is facing you right here in Jamaica.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Lewis. We appreciate your presence here on Global TV tonight. We are open for interviews until the 24th of February. And if you do want to speak to Buff Bay and the people of Jamaica, you can always come back. But I want to thank you for being here tonight and share your views and set out your stall to the people of Buff Bay. Thank you very much for being on Global TV tonight.
And thank you for having me.
You're welcome. there you have it. One more interview from another councillor candidate in the Portland constituency. We will be joined, or should be joined, in the next quarters of an hour or so by Wayne Mckenzie, council candidate Wayne Mckenzie is the former mayor that the current mayor was telling us, thanks Brittany and thanks everyone, how full swing, thank you very much and welcome. Mr. Mckenzie used to share the money, and that's exactly how he's sharing it now. Beulah, good evening and welcome. Olive Foster, good evening and welcome. JJ, good evening and welcome. Who else is here? Douglas Allen, good evening and welcome. Raymond, good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining. Miranda Raddock, good evening and welcome. Thank you for being here. Colleen Humphreys, thank you for joining us. Cousin Myrna, I see you earlier. Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. What was I speaking about today that I want to go back to? Oh, you see when you're getting old and you haven't got your script ready. Has anyone heard anything? Pamela McNeil, good evening and welcome. Sorry. Have anyone heard anything from, what you call him, Delroy Chuck? I really didn't check the Gleaner before I came on to see if anything came out from Delroy Chuck, because he did promise to have something out today in relation to the both sides have a plan. That is what plan. Okay. I'm just quickly looking here if anything comes up on Delroy Chuck. No. But while I'm waiting for my Carlos is here. Carlos, my lady they say, where she there? Audrey Marks. So on a need to contact Old Master. Him gone to the gym. And tell Old Master say the hospital not all as bad as how Old Master talk. So on whether foreign and seem to have influence. Hold on, this is something that will come out in the last 57 minutes. Let me read this for you people. Something come out from Delroy Chuck. So let me mumble over this government issue. What government issue here now? Government issue majority to approve ECJ taking over political ombudsman role. Bangarang. Make we see what the details say so. No, sir. Them people are corrupt and can haul wool over with eye at their very own choosing. But let me put up the wicked Delroy Chuck because of him conundrum here, so. Oh, this is what I needed to talk about. The wicked government, and no doubt Desmond Mckenzie is involved and the rest of them. This unfinished highway, we then decide, so them are go up in and cut ribbon today with the election ploy and promise and foolishness. With the Prime Minister Nestor Morgan and in cahoots them going around the country telling the whole heap a lie and the whole heap of new old promises. And think to say we are fool. And obviously don't listen to Carlos' song. Say can't fool me again. But Let me go to the wicked del right. No, me remember if you not use that word there enough for the bots. Don't like it. The government has issued the government has used its superior number in parliament to pass a proposed law that will see the office of the no, and that you did for said there. It's not the office of the public ombudsman, as well as you can say the public ombudsman because him the politicians and public official of the public ombudsman subsumed into the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, despite strong objection by the opposition. Strong objection from Mark Golden. And what's the other man named Carlos? Carl Simoda. After strong opposition. And this is the dictatorship, Anthony R. Good evening. Pamela McNeil. This is the dictatorship you all need to understand. That illegitimate power that you have given to a tyrant called Simoda. That illegitimate power that you have given to a tyrant that makes this man able to push through anything. You have given him an unwielding, nifty friend, good evening and welcome. An unwielding legislative competency to the point where the Prime Minister regularly abuse power and process. And does Paula assist him? And does Paula Llewellyn go inch and nail with the Prime Minister when it comes to abuse of process? But let me read before them raise my blood pressure tonight. Government has used its superior number in Parliament to pass a proposed law that will see the office of the public ombudsman subsumed into the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, ECJ, despite strong objection by the opposition. The opposition called for a divide on the political ombudsman interim act. Interim means short, bloody term. So the Prime Minister had to stitch up something. Lord Jesus, this man raised my blood pressure. I cannot be asked. When that vote was taken, there was 21 approvals from the government side. All opposition members present, 7 noted against. Before the legislation was taken through committee stages, Jesus of mercy, Justice Minister Delroy Chuck, an assaulter of the Constitution, made a statement to the House of Representatives, reiterating that the administration intention is to pass the bill. That means Delroy Chuck is saying, we not come out here today until the piece of paper, a proposal that we have in my hand, until we make it into law. Me nah come out here today. So when me come here with the paper here, wanna see me walk in here with, I need it to be a law by the time I walk out of Parliament. What a bangarang. In his statement, Chuck said the government fervently disagree with submission from the opposition that the ECJ should not take on the role of the political ombudsman to adjudicate matters involving partisan political activity. Mark Golden was also right, you daft old Conibud. It's only a daft Conibud, Delroy, Henry, good evening. It's only a daft old Conibud, Delroy Chuck, looking over your glass like a Paloma bird. Only a daft old Conibud would have come up with such a reverse conversation, because it is quite the truth what Mark Golden is saying. You cannot have this body lumped in together with the body that patrols and regulates election. And then you're lumping that same body that you would want to have investigating crooked politicians for election irregularities. And you lump those two bodies together, all because Delroy Chuck and the Prime Minister and Earl Jarrett have cooked up to steal the election. So therefore, when Mark Golden and the People's National Party complain or make allegation of electoral irregularity, both of those two darn offices are in the office of the Prime Minister. The Electoral Commission of Jamaica is already in the office of the Prime Minister. And the Electoral Office, now the Political Ombudsman Office, gets subsumed, get tangled into, get thrown into, the two of them become one. Into that office, we don't have no accountability left, you know. And now them are go on wild. You wait and say, oh, wild. Careful bird, good evening and welcome. Look how them are go wild after this election, especially if them think to say them only have 1 year left. Look how them are go wild, pan, but we continue to read. However, opposition leader Mark Golden said he could not support the bill, describing it as bad policy and bad law. That is so correct. And it's not only bad policy and bad law, it's corruption at its highest level, where the very body and office that should investigate the Prime Minister, his cabinet, and his MPs, the Prime Minister is taking control of that office into the office of the Prime Minister. Good evening, with Winston Dawkins. Anthony R., good evening. Taking that office into the office of the Prime Minister. Therefore, anything the Prime Minister wants to shut down, brum, he can shut it down. It is not going to have our support. It is an unworkable proposal. Golden argued that it was problematic to have the commissioner of the Electoral Commission of Jamaica deciding partisan issue and the action that the government were disgraceful. That the action of the government, were disgraceful. But Chuck insisted that he was confident that the commissioner will result in more meaningful recommendation. A vote was suspended last week following outcry from the opposition and government lawmaker called Smoother. Smoother was not in chamber when the vote was taken. The bill will now go to the Senate, another place where the Labour Party has its majority. Under bench of cronies. The bill will now go to Senate for approval before becoming law. Andrew can get that into law tomorrow. If his crooked Senate, Millicent Jones, good evening and welcome. If his crooked Senate vote that bill through tomorrow, which they have the voting majority in the Senate, the Governor General will give it a royal assent tomorrow evening, and that becomes law Thursday morning. Do you see the con? So therefore, Holness is making sure any complaint coming after the election is dealt with in his crooked, lift up, jack the purse, give up the people them land, Prime Minister Andrew Holness. The changes come weeks before local government election on the 26th of February. That's where the article ends. You can go and read it for yourself. It has just come out in the last 5 minutes or so because Carl Smooth did tell we from morning. So we are going to get an update on it today, but rather what Carl Smooth and the government has done, as I stated the other evening, is assault the legislative process, just like they regularly assault the Constitution, just like Paula Llewellyn readily assault the prosecutorial process, just like Fitz Daly readily assault the investigation process. We are paying people to go around assaulting us regularly. And then you have people like Father Ken, who historically the church hold we down for politicians rape us and thief from us. Everywhere we turn, somebody dig out something out of our pocket. Everywhere we turn. Marant Bay. Now this road not done, you know. This road not done, but you see when you're campaigning and failing, the mayor of Marant Bay, Councillor Herbert Williams, is calling for the opening of the Southern Coastal Improvement Project from Kingston to Marant Bay and Marant Bay to Port Antonio to be halted until the project is fully completed or complete. Williams, in a statement on Monday the 5th, argued that the people of St. Thomas were promised a highway, but only a small section of the road from Harborview to Albion is near completion. And up to today, work is proceeding even along the stretch. As a result, he said, I will not be attending the event planned for the official opening by the crooked Prime Minister Andrew Holness. The crooked is my word. The government is politically exploiting the people of St. Thomas, which they have been doing for years, and then always turn their back after the exploitation. After waiting for so many years to finally see work being done, the government is hastily opening before completing work to make the road safe with the necessary caution and directional signs, the mayor complained. Williams said the Portia Simpson Miller cabinet had approved the project from as far back as 2015. And he said, and he could not be associated with the opening of a highway that is not completed for proper and safe use of people of St. Thomas and Jamaica in general. The mayor insisted that he will not be present at today's February 6th opening ceremony. He emphasized that there should be no official opening until the entire project is completed and ready to be delivered to the people. He further urged the government to prioritize resources on getting the project completed for the benefit of the people of St. Thomas. So rather than the government interest at the moment is to get the project done, the government only plan at the moment is to make sure go there with camera and ribbon and scissors and a few grinning teeth. Get the optics all done on camera. Fool the nation pan the pretty done part. And then by the time you reach down the road, dust a blind your eye and asthma kill you and all sort of respiratory problem set in. Because government has decided to con us. Government has decided to con us. Anybody want to call and say anything until my guests come? I get tired. Government want to con us. Want to kill us in order to con us. Just to get the 2 dead vote them. Because in order to get the vote on our Conway, and the con on our Conway, it is so devastating to our health. So now kill we off at the same time. So a dead vote on our go get. Bunch of criminals. Let me see. If the wicked gleaner. I keep forgetting to say that word. Sorry. I have to go remember because my TikTok coming back 2 more days. Carlos, let me correct you on something on the Beaches Stout thingy. On a get off, Beaches Stout get off. There was another added charge of conspiracy to murder. That's what the court rejected, but both accused will still be tried for murder. The bit of charge that was thrown out is the conspiracy to murder charge, but they both will be standing trial for murder. I hope that's a bit clear because the way it's broadcast by mainstream media, some people think the whole case has been thrown out of the system. National Housing Trust Protecting Contributors Fund. Let me read this because everything involved in the Prime Minister is always a lie. I don't know why I read tonight because I should know me by now. But I read for myself. I did get it after reading further. Okay, cool, Carlos. Yeah. The Prime Minister says he's protecting contributors fund. Let's see how this bangarang goes. The National Housing Trust is prudently managed. Did you hear that word? Type the word prudently. The National Housing Trust is prudently managed with strong internal mechanism. Now, it have to be a strong internal mechanism to sign such a airtight lock security secrecy deal that after no give away with public money to no friends to invest, we can hear how much interest on get back on it. The interest is in a secrecy document. So therefore, you all would have strong internal mechanism of secrecy, I would add. Why this man never seems to amaze me. The National Housing Trust is prudently managed with strong internal mechanism in place to protect and the resource of its contributors. Who else could say that? Only Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Nobody else. I mean, nobody else. Me can't call that name. Yeah. Speaking in Beckford, Kraal, Clarendon, on Friday, the 2nd of February, where he handed over a 2-bedroom house to a family under the new social housing program, NSHP. Holness assured that the NHT fund are handled with grace and care. Did you hear that, Carlos? The Prime Minister says the NHT fund, there is a strong internal mechanism at the NHT under the leadership of Martin Miller, who with the Prime Minister in 2019 gave away over 500 million. Then another 100 and odd million in 2021. Says, with strong internal mechanism in place to protect the resources of its contributors, said the Prime Minister. Speaking in Clarendon on the 2nd of February, where he handed over a 2-bedroom house to a family under the new social housing program, Holness assured that the NHT funds are handled with grace, great care, with great care, said the Prime Minister. I am certain that the Board of Management, he's talking about Martin Miller and the others. Overcomer, good evening and welcome. I am certain that the Board of Management at the National Housing Trust take all precautions. They take every single measure to ensure that contributors' funds are protected, he said. The Prime Minister noted that the funds are from the contributors of Jamaica who are making contribution for their own housing in the future. Did you hear that bit? The Prime Minister noted that the funds are from the contributors of Jamaica who are making contribution for their own housing in the future. So how is it then that the Prime Minister cannot take that the money then and I walk around Lagaras Mountain and just take it and a bill, give him friend and cumble them so? When those who pay into it, was Carlos not saying the other day, correct me if I'm wrong, Carlos, that you have to go to a third party to access mortgage, to access these National Housing Trust homes? Am I right or am I right?
This is Global TV election campaign coverage. This is Global TV election campaign coverage. This is Global TV election campaign coverage.
The Prime Minister noted that the funds are from the contributors of Jamaica who are making contribution for their own housing in the future. So they are not to be used in a way that does not protect their investment. God knows I may not understand that part there. Bright, so work it out. As such, he said, we have taken extra steps with the kind of board that we have put in at the National Housing Trust to make sure that it has strong financial accounting and legal management skills. In terms of policy direction, we have been very clear to the management that they must take the strongest possible measures to protect contributors' fund. I don't think that did apply to the 650 million. Would you all think so? You think that a paragraph, yeah, apply to the 650 million? Holness said, even when the trust makes contribution to social housing initiative like the NSHP there are procedures to ensure that the resources go to the beneficiary. That may not understand neither. We are grateful that the National Housing Trust has considered its NSHP a program in which it can invest. Don't understand what that means. Please, you all read that article for yourself, I beg. The National Housing Trust is entrusted with increasing and enriching the stock of available house in Jamaica, as well as providing financial assistance to the neediest of their contributors who wish to build or repair their homes. That I slightly understand, but is the Prime Minister abiding by that? The NSHP, which has conceptualized, which was backside, the new social housing program, which was conceptualized by Wholeness, is geared to improve. You hear who let me looking at the camera. You hear who conceptualized by? Andrew Michael Wholeness. Think about vote buying. Think about voting coercion. The new social housing program, which was conceptualized by Wholeness, is geared to improving the housing condition of the country poorest and disadvantaged through the provision of quality, affordable, and sustainable home. It is being implemented through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Not a bunch of crooks. Please do read that article for yourself. It don't look like my other guest is coming tonight. I don't know how NBC get involved. Carlos, me don't know whether some of these international media, you know, because it's just the same how you're talking about NBC media, are you? Because it's the London Times, I give him such props over here. But if me had a guest not coming, I don't know what's me no like go further than an hour. Election chat, I don't believe a number of that are coming from that. Listen, the Prime Minister from the last conference, been running around with a lot of election promise. And that's how the Prime Minister start the election promise. And at the same time, they tell about the 40 billion. At the same time, about the 40 billion for road and all them something, you know. And all of a sudden, Carla Williams, good night and welcome. All of a sudden, NCB, sorry. All of a sudden, hold on there. Please, people, hit the like button. Don't be too stingy with your thumbs, please. Hit the like button. But the truth is, though, people, we have to continue the awareness on the education. What happened in our parliament last Tuesday and what happened today in our parliament, where our legislative system was hijacked, or system of accountability was hijacked by the Attorney General and a dictatorial government, a tyrannical regime who flips and trips the Constitution at their own willing for their own benefit. At their own willing for their own benefit. The reason why we ended up with Andrew Wholeness with an undemocratic landslide is because of lack of political participation. Had we participated in en masse, I was speaking to someone today, and when you really look at it, it's not that in 2020, in 2020 general election, a lot of Jamaica Labour Party supporters came out to vote. It was rather that a lot of People's National Party supporters, particularly in Westmoreland and Hanover, that was flipped to the People's National Party, that really gave that landslide victory to Andrew Holness. But this time, Jamaicans, whoever they're voting for, whichever personality they're voting for, however, I would suggest you vote for policy. But whichever personality you would be voting for, that is not my business. That is your democratic right. But what I would advise and encourage is that you all get involved in the democratic process. Get involved in the political process. Even to go there and spoil your ballot, it is still participation. But never let government walk away a day after result day, and have faith in the fact that not a lot have participated. So therefore, I don't have to listen to the noise in the market. The government must always be in fear by the strength of your vote. The government must always be in fear by your 90 to 100% of eligible voters. I want to thank you all for being here with me this evening. I want to also thank Mr. Lewis, who came from the West Portland constituency of Buff Bay and had a chat with us and tell the people what his plans are for their division and by West Portland, and for West Portland by extension. Join me back here tomorrow, where we will continue the discussion. I'm hoping tomorrow I can bring you one or two candidates from Western Jamaica. I am working on that. I don't know why nobody from the Jamaica Labour Party wants to come for interview. I have reached out to, luckily just before I was wrapping up, my guest arrived, Mr. Wayne Mckenzie. Let's hope Mr. Mckenzie doesn't have the issues he had the other night of his device connecting to the studio. That same problem starting to exist, but we will wait on and till things turn around. We are just waiting for Mr. Mckenzie device to connect. I do believe it may be signaling problem. If you're hearing me, Mr. Mckenzie, could you try to change your location and log in again? Try to change your location, look at how much bars you're getting on your phone, and then try to log into the studio again. But thank you all for being here. I will take a quick little break and I will be back in a jiffy.
Can't hold me again.
election campaign coverage. This is Global TV election campaign coverage. This is Global TV election campaign coverage.
Thank you and welcome back. We're still waiting to see if Mr. Mckenzie is going to get a good connection to join the studio. If he joins the studio, we will go ahead with the interview. If the problem persists, what we will do, we will arrange the interview as we are available up until the 24th of February. Also, it may quite be unlikely tomorrow night and Thursday night to have candidates for interview. I will try. However, you are aware that Thursday is nomination day and candidates will be busy on the ground from tomorrow, right up to polling day. So yes, they will have to set their stall out. Let me just put you on a break and take a quick call, please. 1 second. Oops, there's the...
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again. What people do in no money, what they at you, in no at you. COVID money, miss away in the yellow rat you. Use the youth, them on the waste, must have mantis statue. Say me like a catch you, but bigger than a figure you. Take the spit of money, God, and say that it's not you. One day, the man above him, look him, I got a bed. Too much it in the kitchen, some fly by like a patu. When singers and DJs and social media's coming at you. It burn me, 300% free. It burn me, garbage pile of it.
Yes, welcome back, everyone. My guest is still having a bit of technical difficulties. I have given some instruction. I am just waiting to see if that will work so we can get on with the interview. Let me look at what you're saying in the comments. Andrew can't fool me again. Family, like up the live, please. Let me quickly jump over into the YouTube studio to see how you all are going on over there with your fingers. Hold on. Don't forget to see that over here, the only support that we're asking you for is to like and share the live. We don't have Cash App, we don't have GoFundMe, we don't have Zelle, we don't have any of the begging apparatus. All we're asking is that you hit the like button and give us your support that way, please. Thank you very much. Right. Mr. Mckenzie really seemed to be having problems. He can hear me from his end, but he cannot get connected to the studio, so I or you can hear him, but he can hear us. But the connection is not coming through where I can bring him to the broadcast stream. So all of us can hear him. Until that happens, I will not be able to conduct the interview because I will not be able to bring him up on screen. So that's the problem we are experiencing at the moment. But we do still have another about what, 18 days or so, or 20, 18, because we stopped the 24th. I saw go, something like that. But however, my researcher, you know who you are. Reach out to Mr. Mckenzie for me, please. I think we're going to have to rearrange this interview anytime after Thursday when he is available. Do that for me, please. But yes, the political process, being involved, engaged in the political process is something that all of us must do. Yes, 18 to 19 days. So we still have time left for interviews. And on some days, if it gets busy and hectic, we can conduct interviews in all of our 3 programs if candidates wish to. I'm working on some interviews in the Kingston and St. Andrew area. I'm hoping to have those people coming forward by the end of this week into next week. I'm also working on 2 in Western Jamaica at the moment. So everybody is welcome to tell their stories, set out their stall, rolled up in them hand cart, or anything you're using, any method you're using to put out your stall. Just make sure you're not coming with failed promises and a whole new set of lies. This evening, we're going to end it here. It's an hour and a half now since we've been live. You know we don't go so awfully long, only because we had 2 interviews lined up for tonight. But thanks for all of you for your support here on the live this evening. Let us try again. Hold on, let me see if my guest is connecting. Still not giving me a connection. Their mic and camera is not being connected. Their mic and camera is not being connected. That is the problem, really. Until the mic and the camera is connected, it won't give access to the studio. So that's really what the problem Mr. Mckenzie is facing. I don't know what the problem is with his device. If you're hearing me, Mr. Mckenzie, and you have a laptop, is it possible that you could try the link on a laptop rather than on your phone? You might get a better access if you try on a laptop. You might get a better access than on your phone. But what I'll probably do also, my midday program tomorrow will probably not broadcast. And I'll try to see if I bring one of the interviewees from Western Jamaica for the drive time program, which would be 1 p.m. in Jamaica, so I will try to work on that tomorrow as well. Mr. Mckenzie is still trying, so we are waiting and hoping that his device get connected. His device get connected to the studio. We are still waiting and hanging on. Yeah, what Beat and T said, the only thing we beg over here is a thumb. We're not begging anything else. Not another thing else. Mm. 10 devices forgot to hunt like the 10 button. Let me see again. This system is just not working for Mr. Mckenzie at all. All his other colleagues, their system works. Valentine basket in the air, beat and teach? No, sir. I kind of bang around this. Such I say too bad. Mr. Mckenzie, let's rearrange for another time of your own choosing availability. I'm available to do a 1 o'clock Jamaica time or 6 p.m. Jamaica time, 1 p.m. Jamaica or 6 p.m. Jamaica. I'm available to do interviews. Okay, I've seen your private message. I'm able to do interviews 1 p.m. Jamaica time and 6 p.m. So any day is free for you. If it's not working for you tonight, any day it's free for you. Then 1 o'clock Jamaica time or 6 o'clock, I can do any of those 2 times, any day, Monday to Friday. And remember, if you're over here and you're listening and you are a JLP supporter, reach out to your councillor and mayor and tell them Global TV is platforming political candidates so they can speak to the nation, speak to their division, and lay out their policy and their market stall to their division and to Jamaica by extension. But let me thank you for being here tonight. We will have to arrange Mr. Mckenzie interview. We will definitely, as long as Mr. Mckenzie is available, we will definitely bring Mr. Mckenzie on so he can tell the people of Prospect what Mr. Mckenzie is bringing to the people of Prospect. But thank you very much tonight. My eyes and brain feel very tired at the moment. Thank you very much. And we will definitely see you tomorrow. Good night, and thank you all for joining us on this another program. Sonia Wint, you just arrived when we are leaving. Good evening, everyone. This is 2024 Jamaica Decide. Thank you very much and good night.